there, Shalligators. We are back to continue some rants about Harry and Meghan and their deeply absurd Netflix documentary. And we're gonna get into some sticky areas today. We're gonna talk about abusive relationships because our queen of logic, our grand high priestess of rhetoric and argumentation, Candace Owens, brought something to my attention that is, I mean, I'm sure we've said this. I honestly don't know. We've done so many videos about them. I'm sure I've covered this. That Prince Harry is in an emotionally abusive relationship because the chief hallmark of such is isolation. And what has Meghan done? We're going to hear from the Queen Candace herself. I shouldn't say queen because in this context we can mean Queen Elizabeth. We're not going to be using a Ouija board to contact her. We're going to be listening to some things that Candace Owens said about this because, I mean, she just hits the nail on the head. She's so succinct. She's like the opposite of me. I just love her to death. And we're going to explore 6 things you can do to help someone who might be in an emotionally, or I mean, physically, but let's focus on emotionally, abusive relationship because men are trash, right? And we see this all the time. I mean, how many friends have you watched get entangled with a fuckboy? Maybe he wasn't abusive. Like, I don't know that Meghan Markle is like beating Prince Harry with a fireplace rod, but isolating someone, gaslighting them, using their trauma as a card to play to manipulate them and make them malleable, sounds pretty shitty to me. And I know we have watched that with our best friends, our sister, our cousin. Maybe we can even look back on our own history and be like, no, that was me too. And when we look back, it's hard to know what would have helped us in that moment. But there's a psychologist who's laid out 6 different points of view. 6 different tips on how you can break through to these people and help them. But also, I'm going to temper all of this advice with how you can protect your peace. Because look, we're loving, empathetic, feeling women and gays. We tend to get codependent, which means we care more about someone's problems than they care about them. And we cannot corrode ourselves trying to save someone else. We can't run inside their emotional burning building if they don't want to leave, you know? So how can we help without losing ourselves and getting swallowed up by like the angst and the misery? Okay, well, we're going to break it all down. It's going to relate to Harry and Meghan. We're going to get into it. But before we do, I want to do a quick little unboxing and share a brand that I have really come to love. It's a Shalligator founded brand called Happy Hippo. It is organic, toxin-free, eco-friendly, vegan mouth and body care. Wait, mouth care? Yeah. What do we say is like a tenet of hotness? Good teeth. Okay, so this company was founded by a dentist, and she's like an organic dentist, and she's branched out. She started making these really cool toothpaste tablets, but these little toothpaste tablets are so cool. You can take them everywhere. They're fantastic. So her company does these little subscription boxes. They're so cute for the holidays. I think this is a super fun gift to pair with something like a lipstick for your mom or your friend. And so it's like a whole like smiley package or something. And then you could like offer to take photos. Oh my gosh. Okay, so if your friend is like getting back on Tinder or your mom needs like new LinkedIn headshots, this is such a cute little package. Like get her some photos, redo the smile, these little toothpaste tablets, the lip balm. She does these lotion bars too. This is chocolate. I just held it out like you were gonna sniff it. This is how close I feel to you guys. So these little lotion bars, you just rub them on your body. This legit smells like chocolate orange. Oh, I'm going to eat it like the chocolate thing that you smashed. So go ahead and click the link down below and shop and save. It's a great little brand, woman-owned. They donate a portion of their proceeds to animal welfare charities and environmental causes. So it's kind of a no-brainer. Try this brand. They're great. Okay, let's talk Meghan and Harry. I'm always so happy to help a Shalligator. I want to play some of what Candace Owens said about this because, I mean, she's our queen. She's our queen of logic and everything. So these are clips from TikTok. I'm just going to hold it up to my mic. You don't really need to see the visuals. And quite frankly, I don't love her shirt. So also, I deeply hate my hair today. So just in case you were curious, I don't like it either.
Last night, and I did not watch it because I didn't need to watch it.
I
knew exactly what was going to happen in this documentary series. I actually told you guys last week what was going to happen because Meghan Markle is just the most predictable person in the entire world. She's very predictable. I knew throughout their entire relationship, because I do believe that she is an emotionally abusive person, that she is embarking on Freudian transfer. She is using a real childhood trauma that Prince Harry suffered from, losing his mother, and she has used it to further harness him to her and their relationship. She has convinced him, he actually believes that Meghan Markle is Princess Diana, okay? So in case you missed it, the documentary, it turns out Meghan Markle is Princess Diana. That's what she wants you guys to know. She is Princess Diana, and fortunately for Prince Harry, this time, he got to save his mom. I mean, how sick is that? Me even saying that.
Okay, I just need to pause it. What do I tell you guys all the time? What do I tell you guys all the time? We don't date people who make us happy. We date people who remind us of our most difficult parent. And psychologically, difficult can very easily, difficult can mean a whole bunch of different things. You can like your most difficult parent. You could be closest to them. Sometimes you are the closest with someone who you're most like, or they're difficult, there's a codependency. It can obviously also mean a parent where there's a lot of trauma. And clearly, a mom who died too young, that's going to be pretty traumatic. And I love that Candace is validating me. So one thing she said was Freudian transfer. She kind of said it fast, like Dr. Freud. Freud was obsessed with mothers and like the mother wound, and like all baby boys want to fuck their mom. It was all just, somebody was not breastfed long enough. Okay. So that is what she's talking about. Let's keep going.
Actually, what is taking place. So here are some quotes of what he said, and the reason why he responds to Meghan Markle's compassion and, quote, warmth is because it's just like his late mother. This is from Prince Harry. Quote, so much of what Meghan is and how she is so similar to my mom. She has the same compassion. She has the same empathy. She has the same confidence. She has this warmth about her. That is disturbing on so many levels. It's disturbing because this is something that I didn't want to be right about, but it was so obvious. And it was one quotation that she had given a while ago where she said that she was, I think she was about 7 months pregnant, and this is when they were still within the royal family. And she said that she's told him that she was going to kill herself, but she wasn't going to do it. But she knew, like, while he was gone, he was at some event and he got home, and she said, I was going to kill myself, but I didn't do it because I didn't want you to suffer the same thing that you suffered with your mom. She actually came out and said that. She said this to him. So I'm picturing a woman that is 7 months pregnant with somebody's child and saying, I was just about to kill myself, but I know what you went through with your mom, and I didn't want you to suffer again. And that obviously triggered, because it's so emotionally abusive, it triggered Prince Harry, and that became of Harry and...
Okay, that's where the clip ends. That is so fucked up. Did I know Meghan said that? Have we covered that? Again, like, I just kind of like drown out these details because we talk about them so much. That is so fucked up. That is so fucked up. As someone who did lose a parent to suicide, anyone who plays that card in any sort of cavalier way can go do it then. You know, like, I think that is such a terroristic thing to say or to do, and it is so selfish. And ironically, the people who do play that card in a cavalier way, they don't kill themselves. They're too much of a narcissist. They're not the ones who off themselves. No, they stick around. That is so toxic and so twisted. And like, what is the end goal there? Like, what on earth? Like, to get your hooks into him? He's your husband, for God's sakes. You're having his baby. He's obsessed with you. How much deeper do you need to infiltrate someone's psyche? And how much control do you need to have over them? And I'm sorry, I don't know. I don't care what the media has said about her, what the racism is. This is her response. Let's say she's the most racially maligned, hounded by the paparazzi. She's not, but let's say that she is. Why would you in turn around and terrorize the one person who you, by your own assertion, has your back? Why would you do that to them? Why? So on one hand, either you're a fucking monster doing exactly what Candace says you're doing, which is like gaslighting and terrorizing and Freudian transferring onto your poor simpleton of a husband, or you are not a monster, but you're turning all of your righteous venom onto the one man who loves you and has your back and is in your corner. Which of these two people would you like to be, Meghan? Because they both seem pretty darn odious to me. I want to keep reading from our scripture, aka Candace Owens on TikTok, because there's a second part. And this one.
Somebody tweeted, or actually earlier today, they said, I don't see how any person can watch this documentary and not feel extreme compassion for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And I don't understand, if you don't feel compassion, you have a heart of stone. I'm paraphrasing, but that was essentially the tweet. And I have tremendous compassion. I have tremendous compassion for any person that is in an emotionally abusive relationship. So emotionally abusive that they have successfully isolated you from your entire family. It's not normal. There's no relationship that you should be in that should isolate you from your entire family. Okay?
Pause. Let's go back to the argument people always use to defend Harry and Meghan. But his family was toxic. He needed to get away from them. Do you hear what Candace said? No relationship should isolate you from your family. That's the key word there. No relationship. If you, as a fully independent, fully cognitive, self-possessed, full of agency person, want to disengage thoughtfully and appropriately from your family, fine. It should not be the relationship that does it. And we've talked about this before in defense of like Harry. It's like, okay, fine. No, I'm sorry. In defense of Meghan. I forgot that. That's not the first thing that jumps to my brain because I find her behavior honestly indefensible. But in a devil's advocate situation, sure. Let's say that in defense of Meghan, let's say that his family was toxic, racist, horrible. Why is that on Meghan to drag him out of it? A real man would have done it, got his house in order before he wifed her up. He would not put the onus on her to clean up this generational dynastic mess. So that's a shitty thing. If Meghan is like draped in sunshine and sugar and pom-poms, like some people seem to think she is, then fuck Harry. Like, why would he do that to her? It can't be both. Like, you cannot have it both ways. Let's keep going.
And the fact that he is in one, and that she is convincing him that their extreme gaslighting of the world is not taking place. Remember, they left, they issued statements, and they did interviews all about the pursuit of their own privacy. That's all they ever wanted. What extreme gaslighting? That everything that they have done since they left has been public. You do not pursue your privacy with Oprah. It's just not how you do it.
You don't pursue your privacy with Oprah. Do you guys ever have those friends on Instagram or people that you follow and they'll post these like dramatic but cryptic things? Really tough day yesterday. Thanks for everyone who was there for me. You're like, what happened? It's just really tough. I don't want to get into it. I just can't talk about it. Well, your ass posted it on the internet, so I'm the asshole now? I'm asking the logical question. You don't pursue your privacy in a public forum. You don't pursue your virginity in a whorehouse. You don't pursue your physical health at a Sizzler buffet. I didn't know that we needed to define these extremely basic constructs. When it comes to Harry and Meghan, we do. Let us keep going.
Don't do it in a sit-down interview with Oprah. And I would believe that truly they just wanted to help people by sharing their story if they weren't being paid $100 million to do it, right? If they were just about wanting to share their story, they'd be going around and doing charity and speaking to people that are dealing with issues and forms of emotional abuse within their own families. They are doing this for money while gaslighting you and trying to convince you that they're doing it because they have a heart and they have compassion. The only person that you should feel bad for in this story, and allow me to remind you that he also lost his mother, is Prince William. Because what his brother is doing is so twisted. And again, I don't think he's doing it to be evil. I believe the person that is behind this, perpetuating this, is Meghan Markle. She is smarter than him. She is more conniving than him. And he just cannot see the writing that is on the wall. He cannot see that when you lose all of your friends and all of your family and you're ushered to America in Hollywood with a D-list actress, it is because you are under the spell of a witch. I do believe that she is a witch and she has cast a spell.
I love how matter of fact she is. You're under the spell of a witch. Like, it's the only thing that it could be. It's a witch. I believe she's a witch. I am a witch. And Meghan is a manipulator. I suppose I have it in me to be this kind of manipulative. And that's the thing. I think that's why I'm so triggered by Meghan. Like, I could also be evil. Like, I could have separated my husband, Max, a lot of different people that I've dated from their families. But I recognize, like, it's not that I couldn't do it. It's why on earth would I want to? First of all, I don't want to be someone's everything. And I mean everything. I want to be their everything, like, sexually and romantically, you know, in those categories where it's appropriate. I don't want to be their everything in terms of all of their emotional needs, all of them. No friends, no family, no nothing, no beer league football, nothing. It's all me, me, me. I think this is why I don't want to be a parent. It's like, that is quite enough. Like, I find that so exhausting. And I truly don't understand the personality type that enjoys that. I really don't. Like, you guys probably have friends and maybe they're moms. It definitely is clear to see when someone becomes a parent, because it's part of what fuels being a parent, is people who need to be needed. You know, like they have to be needed. It veers into martyrdom a lot of times. I'm like, ugh, I don't want to be needed. Maybe that's not true. Like, given what I do for a living, maybe you're like, you could not be less self-aware right now, Shallon. I get it. But like, when you lay it out, like, that seems so overwhelming and exhausting to me. It's very odd that that is actually what's fueling all of Meghan. Like, we're going to keep going.
As his brother does this, as his brother digs up these old horrible memories for profit. I mean, how sick and how twisted. It is a family.
Okay, so it ends there. Candace spitting the facts. You know, it's interesting. We've talked about how Meghan bamboozled Harry and how she used his shadow self. And his shadow self can be summed up in one word. The word he gave to his autobiography. Spare. S-P-A-R-E, spare. That was Harry's whole mythology as he was growing up in a child. It was the heir and the spare. William and Harry, the heir and the spare. The hot one and the redhead. Literally the redheaded stepkid kind of thing, right? And Meghan comes along. You're not the spare. You're the true king. You're the one who's going to change everything. And doing this, she isolates him. She pulls him out of the family. And the biggest irony of all is that in doing so, she has guaranteed that this toxic mythology, this dark self he's had about himself, I'm just the spare, she has guaranteed that that is now true. He is the nobody of the family. He is not ever going to be king. He can't actually hack it. Because that's all they talk about. We couldn't do it. It was too much. That is planting your flag on a new frontier of bullshit, Meghan. Congratulations. To isolate someone using this narrative that you ironically make true via that own isolation. It's wild. Like, think about what an abusive boyfriend will do. You should only hang out with me, baby, because your friends don't like you and they don't appreciate you and they're talking shit behind your back. Okay? You isolate a woman, her friends do start to separate and they're like, I don't know what to do. Like, you bail on everything. You FaceTime Jeff the entire time we're together. Of course we're talking behind your back. We're not talking behind your back. We're worried about you. But again, like, it becomes true via the abuse. The abuse creates the reality that you're most afraid of. It's so twisted. She has a part 3 to this. Should we listen to it? Yes, because I love her. This is from the TikTok account called Constitutional Royal.
To spiritually protect family. Family is sacred. And the way that he is treating it is so narcissistic and so Hollywood and so elitist because they don't have values and principles in Hollywood. Everything goes to the highest bidder. They will sell their children. They will sell their brother who is over there knowing that his brother cannot speak out on this Netflix documentary, that they cannot respond, that him and his wife and how it is impacting them and their family and their children who are seeing this in the press day in and day out. They're convincing you that all they wanted to do was run away from the press, right? She's just like Princess Diana, guys. Princess Diana was killed because the press just wouldn't leave her alone. This is what Meghan Markle has done, is pursued the most press in the form of a Netflix documentary, the most possible press she could possibly receive, and wants you to believe that it's because all she wanted to do was to escape them. And here's what's especially sick, and I want to add this to it. So Prince William came right out and said last year that the interview that took place between his mother, remember his mother was conned into giving an interview that she was not aware of from a journalist he is a disgraced journalist named Martin Bashir. He completely conned her in 1995. And the interview was very famous because she spoke out about her husband, Prince Charles, but she wasn't aware that she was doing it. So this interview became synonymous with how taken advantage of she was by the press. Prince William, again, said that he never wanted to see this interview see the light of day ever again. It was traumatic for him to see this interview being played because he's watching his mother being taken advantage of. Who sold the interview again? Well, his brother, Prince Harry, sold it to Netflix, and they premiered parts of that interview in the documentary yesterday. It's despicable. It's disgusting. And I just feel that everyone needs to get on board. And I see it happening already left and right. We are agreeing that there is something that is deeper that is happening here, something that is darker that is happening here. And this web is being very carefully woven by Meghan Markle. But we should all be able to speak out and realize that this level of intrusion on a family dynamic that I don't dispute. Of course, families are complicated. I have fights with people in my family all the time. But to make $100 million and then $25 million from Spotify, talking over and over again, pretending that you're the victim, when in fact what you are is a shrewd capitalist, we should all be able to renounce them and say that this needs to stop, and you need to leave Prince William alone.
It is my greatest nightmare and yet my most ardent hope that one day I get to debate Candace Owens. I think at some point during the debate, I would simply just burst into flames and just turn to ash right there. I wouldn't be able to handle it. I couldn't do it. And listen, I love Candace Owens. I don't agree with everything she says. Like, she has very odd views on climate change, which I don't really understand. She also, since she had a baby, she's like, that's the only worthwhile thing you can do, like fuck work. I'm like, Candace, the only reason anyone is listening to you is because you have prioritized work. Like, you are standing on the shoulders of feminist giants shouting down that you don't like The View. But we talked about this in terms of Jordan Peterson. We were talking about Olivia Wilde and Harry Styles, their breakup, and how she based like a insane character in Don't Worry, Darling on Jordan Peterson. And we all said in the comments, like, because I said in the video, I don't agree with everything Jordan Peterson says, but I am not a simpleton where I have to agree with everything somebody says in order to find value in the things I do agree with. Do you agree with everything your friends wear or everything they eat? No. And you just are like, it's fine. Like, I can compartmentalize. It's bananas. So even if you're like, I hate Candace Owens, she's spitting facts there. Even if you think everything that woman says is wrong, a broken clock is still right twice a day, right? Even people who are never right get it right sometimes. And she gets it right a lot. So I really appreciate her take on this. It's so succinct. Granted, she has writers and she has like notes and a teleprompter, and I'm just like, blah, 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 just blurbling out things all the time. But I love what she's saying in terms of abusive relationships. And it really is true that William is the one suffering here. And I've talked about that in previous videos a while ago, that like he lost his mother too. He lost his mother too. And he's got the stiff upper lip to maintain. Like, Harry says he suffered. Harry's gotten to live his life more or less doing whatever he wanted. That's the upside to being the spare. You don't have to worry about taking over the crown one day. It's not going to happen. You can craft a life that you want. You're less duty bound. And certainly your wife is less duty bound. I mean, she's not going to be the queen. She's not going to be anything. Like, you guys could live out in the state and raise chickens or have orgies, whatever the hell you want. Go do whatever, William is the one who's had to keep his nose to the grindstone, go to these insufferable seeming royal events and civic duties. I mean, we've talked a bunch about how boring it seems to be a royal. I mean, just mind numbing. The small talk. Imagine going to your mom's office Christmas party. Oh, yes, my mom. Oh, okay. It's that for like 30 years. It's a hellscape. So I don't know where, by creating a victim narrative and by Harry and Meghan saying like, we've suffered, they're by extension, the other side of that coin is Kate and William are thriving. Like, Kate and William have it so easy. What are you basing that on? They seem to have it so hard. There is no wiggle room for them. They got to be perfect, united front. They're never squabbling. They're never speaking out. They're never counteracting anything. It is duty, honor, country. That's it. That is it. They signed on the dotted line. But Harry's the one suffering? Why? Why? I never have found an answer to that question. Why? The press? You mean the press you keep courting? It's over and over and over again. Let's talk about these kinds of dynamics that we see in our lives. How can you combat a controlling or abusive relationship? No, and listen, okay, obviously you can take these tips into your own life, but we're talking about someone else's. So the last guy I dated, who I recently broke up with because he hated Christmas, he has some, like, his best guy friend is dating a chick that he despised, that my ex-boyfriend despised. It was, I think, our second date, and I was treated to a 45-minute rant about this girl. And I mean, a flaming, fire-breathing vitriol about Becky. And I was like, okay, and I was trying to be like, it seems like this is kicking up a lot of extremely strong feelings for you. Like, why? And I was very like casual and soft about that. It's like, you feel really strongly about this. I mean, do you think it like relates to something? Have you seen this dynamic in your own family? As I got to know him more and more, yeah, I saw that dynamic in his own family 100% related to his parents. It was one parent was really shitty and the other parent wouldn't leave. And I'm like, because he would almost every time we were together, I was hearing some other rant about Becky. And at the expense of him asking, oh, I don't know, about my life or my family or, me, his girlfriend. No. I got to hear about someone else's girlfriend, a shitty one. And finally, I'm like, do you not see the parallels here? Like, this is a very mirroring dynamic with your parents. And he's like, no. It's because he did not even let that come in for land. He was like, no. It's because he's my best friend. I said, no, that isn't what it is. It's because this is so triggering for you because it looks like your parents' dynamic. Like, you talk more about her than you talk about anyone. So at this point, I got to kind of wonder if you don't have feelings for her. What? I'm like, well, she's the silent third party in our relationship. Right? Like, I know more about her than you know about me. Why don't you let that sit for a minute? And he's like, okay, fine. Why am I bringing this up? Spite? A little bit. It's because when we find ourselves plugging into someone and getting like so worked up about a dynamic that we're not admittedly involved in, and hold on, you can probably be like, no, I am involved. It's my sister. It's my cousin. It's my best friend. With respect, that's not your relationship. You are not actually involved. You are choosing to inhabit this place of involvement. It's me. Hi. But you are not actually a partner here. It's a dyad. It is not a triad. The question is why? Well, because he sucks. Look what he's doing to her. Of course. But consider this. Other people in your orbit see the same dynamic, and they aren't gassed up about this the way you are. Well, that's because I'm closest to her. She's my sister. She's my cousin. What if the tenets of psychology apply to you also? The way they apply to all of us. What if your brain and your subconscious actually works kind of the way all of ours do? What if there's something about this dynamic that is awfully familiar? It's awfully familiar. I have a friend here. I could scratch her husband's eyes out with a dull, decorative spoon. Okay? Kind from Disneyland. That kind. Dull. I hate him. Why? Because he's a deadbeat? Because he is a shit-ass father to their daughters? Because she makes all the money and supports his non-job. I mean, it's not a job because it's not profitable. It's a hobby. I hate him. And any chance I get, I will rant about him. I will. Why? Because look, a lot of people I know are in bad marriages. I mean, just keeping it real, they are. Or they have unhealthy dynamics with their husband, or there's plenty of flaws that their husband had. Why that guy? Because he reminds me of my dad. That's what my dad was. Lazy. Obviously a terrible, non-existent father. Let my mom work and pay for me and raise me while he just fucked off around Europe and did nothing. I find it intolerable. And overall, when I see qualities or dynamics that I cannot stand in other people, it's because somehow they remind me of my father. I hate cowards. I hate lazy people. And most of all, I detest when people aren't living up to their potential. I mean, look what I do for a living. My whole thing is unlock your potential, seek out your greatness, use your intellect, develop yourself, make something of your life, for God's sakes. Why? Because my father didn't. I'm very, very aware of that. And you know what? Rather than trying to dismantle it and be like, I don't care, I acknowledge I am always going to care. This will always trigger me. This will always be my Achilles heel. But instead of veering into toxicity, where I'm just screaming and ranting over the lazy, well, I mean, I do that, and the unfulfilled and the cowardly, I'm at least trying to help people not end up and meeting that fate. I've channeled that for good instead of for evil. I veer into the evil as defined by codependency, ranting, get overly invested in stuff, for sure. For sure. And it's very helpful for me to pull back and be like, this is why I hate my friend's husband. This is why I hate him because he's hateable and he's a bag of shit, okay? But it's so especially triggering for me because of my father. And it just helps me to be like, okay. Even if I fixed their relationship, even if I pushed him off a cliff and got that decorative dull spoon out, it's not gonna change my father. It's not ever gonna go back in time. I'm never gonna get dealt a better hand in terms of that parent. It's never going to happen. So when I realize that, it feels kind of nihilistic, like, then what's the point? But that's a good thing. Then what's the point? I mean, really, what is the point? Just if I save my friend who's in this bad marriage, who, by the way, doesn't want to be saved. She thinks she's in a fine old situation. I mean, subconsciously, no, like based on her behavior, she's clearly unhappy, but she's not at the place where she's like, I am very unhappy. Like, not at all. So what am I doing killing myself in the Sisyphean task? For what? What is it going to fix in my life? Nothing. Okay? So if I really want to get her away from this person, if I really want to help her see the light, just beating my head against a wall isn't going to do it. But what might? Okay, let's read. So this is from Psychology Today, a doctor named Lisa Aronson Fontes. She wrote an article about something, it's called coercive control. You know, like you can have violent control, which is like I'm dragging you out of Applebee's by your hair. Coercive control is like what Meghan Markle is doing. It's gaslighting, isolation, financial control, sometimes sexual control. That's just kind of the umbrella everything falls under. So here are 6 ways. I'm going to read some of this and I'll offer my own thoughts. Number 1, counteract isolation. Oof. So the way friends isolate, it's tough because, I mean, when I see my friends do it, it isn't the guy who's like, you are not allowed to go there. It's much more subtle and it's much more pernicious. You know what? I don't even want to go. Why would I want to go to this party? I have worked such a long week. I just want to stay home with my boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. They're making a logical argument, but you as a friend, a cousin, a sister, whatever, can look and say, this is something she priorly enjoyed. Before Anthony came along, she liked to do these things. And now all of a sudden, oh no, it's not him. I don't want to. They're falling on their sword to keep their boyfriend looking like a buttercup because that's part of the hallmark. So you got to counteract that. Okay, this is what they say. Stay in touch or get back in touch with the person you're worried about, even though the abuser might make this difficult. Combinations of email, text, phone calls, gifts, visits, and see if you can maintain contact. This is important. Keep the conversation light and don't bring up your issues with the abuser right out of the gate. And also be very much aware this person, the abuser, might be monitoring these situations. You ever had a friend you go out with and suddenly the boyfriend shows up at Chili's and you're like, yeah, what are you doing here? Oh, just thought I'd come and give you guys a ride home. He's being the good guy. No, he's not. He's hovering and he's lurking. He cannot have you, the bad guy, the outside influence, slithering around, right? So you got to keep it all really light. Keep it all really light. This is going to be kind of like the overarching advice here. Do not directly attack the abuser. I find this very difficult. I'm a hothead. I'm a loudmouth. I choose my words carefully. And I say what I said. I stand by what I said. I'm a bit of a sledgehammer that way. It's very hard for me when someone tells me a story about their shitty boyfriend being shitty, not to call it out. But it doesn't work. Feels good in the moment. It doesn't work. And it's going to work backwards. You're going to receive, this person's going to receive more from you, you know? I mean, think about it. Even if you're not in an abusive relationship, if your friend was talking shit about your boyfriend, it's like, well, no, but I actually don't want to go to brunch with you. If you're just going to like rag on my boyfriend, like, okay, you know, you can't blame them for that. You can't blame you for it either, though, but strategically, it doesn't work. So you don't want to raise the alarm to the abuser by bringing up concerns. Just focus on having fun and keeping it light. Step number 2, counteract gaslighting. So gaslighting, obviously, is when someone is telling you you're crazy for seeing and calling out the truth, right? And this is obviously tactic like number 2, next to isolation. It walks hand in hand with gaslighting. Like Candace Owens was saying, Meghan's doing to Harry. So the way to counteract gaslighting is to bolster the sense that your friend, like, validate her perceptions about anything. Like when she's like, oh my gosh, that couple over there, ugh, get a room. She'd be like, I know, right? If they choose Pepsi over Coke, oh my God, good choice. You're so right. It seems stupid to be such a yay-sayer, like, well, what's that going to do? But it reaffirms that they know their own mind, they can make choices, and that they can trust their own opinion, okay? Ask them for advice. What would you do about this work situation? Make it up if you have to, and agree with what they say. You are so smart. I never thought of it that way. Yeah, now that you bring it up, I can see why the guy in HR would be blah, blah, blah. Okay. Also, another thing, bring up old memories. Relive good times before the abuser, because again, that's going to reconnect them with the self that they know and they can trust. It's going to keep that version of themselves, the trustworthy version of themselves, much more in the frontal lobe. Okay, not the frontal lobe, the front view. You know what I'm saying. Number 3, counteract degradation. Here's what the doctor has to say. Abusers make demands about the most intimate aspect of a victim's life, including sex, eating, bathing, dressing, even using the toilet. I had a guy who was like, how much toilet paper do you use? I'm like, what? He's like, well, I'm just curious. Like, how much do you use? I feel like we run out of toilet paper really fast. I said, first of all, you're at my house. So it's not a we, I'm buying the toilet paper. It was crazy. And he was a very abusive person. He hadn't hit me yet, but I remember when we were dating, I said to one of my friends one time, I'm like, if we had a baby together, he would turn that child against me. It would be his life's mission, his life's work to isolate me from my child. And she's like, do you hear what you're saying right now? And it was like, I'm like, yeah, it was a nightmare. I hate him. Jason. His name's Jason Clark. I hate him. You can counteract degradation by showing genuine support and appreciation. Start by using phrases including, one thing I've always liked about you. I admire how you, and I love it when we, as long as these comments are sincere, they can help people who are being abused feel better about themselves. Avoid criticizing or blaming them and remain non-judgmental about their choices. I know. It's hard. And as I was reading through this article before I did this video, I was so like spiky and punchy and defensive about it. Like, why should I, the person who loves them, who's right, why should I be tiptoeing around like this insane abusive guy? I know. You don't have to. I'm going to tell you this right now, halfway through the list. If this is too much for you, you don't have to. And I hate to ever tell someone, abandon a friend. But listen, if you have to choose between protecting yourself and letting someone down, let someone down. Let someone down. At the end of the day, they're making their own choices. Under coercion, sure. But like, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink. I'm just full of folksy idioms today. It is not okay to lose yourself to save somebody else. It's the burning building thing, you know? And if you feel yourself just getting too wound up about this, the way my ex was with Becky, I'm like, I think you need to distance yourself from your best friend. Oh, so I'm just supposed to abandon him? I said, no, you're supposed to protect yourself. And like, I'm sorry, you need to maybe protect your relationship with me. Like, does that have any bearing? Because I literally don't want to hear this bitch's name one more time for the rest of my life. Enough. You're alienating me, ironically. You know, this has splash zone consequences. So if you are at the place where like, I cannot play it this strategic, I can't do it, you don't have to. But then you do have to separate. You do have to separate. And you know what you can do? Because I've done this with friends. I've sat them down and been like, I am no longer able to pretend that I see Jeff as someone who's healthy for you, because he isolates you. He laughs at your dreams. He controls you physically and sexually. He makes you feel bad about yourself. I can't watch this. I love you. I feel like I have tried to counteract what he's doing, and I'm just becoming more and more the bad guy, and I don't deserve to be the bad guy. So I need to remove myself from this. If and when one day you wake up, and I really hope that you do, and decide you deserve better, and I would try not to say it as like you wake up and see how wrong you are, or you're stupid. It's like you wake up and decide, know that you deserve better, and that you see yourself the way I see you, which is wonderful and wild and smart and blah, 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 blah. I'll be here for you. I will. But I cannot be here in the interim. I cannot sit front row to this. It's too painful. You know? And I've had some friends be like, well, fine. And I've had some friends be like, really? Like, that was a splash of cold water in the face when I broke up with them. And I said, I was like, I'm breaking up with you. Like, this is too much for me. You know, like, I want to be a good friend to you, but you're not being a good friend to yourself. So I don't really know where to take this. And some people, I couldn't save them, and they solipsized into that horrible relationship, and now they have kids with them, and it's a toxic relationship. And it's like, I will mourn that forever, but I cannot turn that ship around, and neither can you. Like, you can help based on these tips, but can you wave a wand and wake someone up? No. But you can do some of these things. So let's keep going. Counteract economic abuse. This is a very real thing that we don't really talk about that much. You know, a lot of people in bad relationships stay because they financially cannot afford to leave. I see it all the time. And you don't have to be poor, and you don't have to have 6 kids. You just maybe don't have an extra 10 grand in savings to set up an apartment out of the blue and buy every fork and every pillowcase and everything from scratch. I get it. Abusers may use money to threaten, reward, or punish, or make victims earn their keep by obligating them to do things against their will. You can counteract this by asking what your friend needs. Money, food, childcare, pet care, transportation, information, a job, a place to live, a place to store their belongings. Help, if you don't know how to help emotionally, help logistically. You know, we talked about this in videos about how to help a friend who's like having kind of a mental breakdown. Be like, come over, bring your insurance card. We're going to order Chinese. I will get on your website. I will find out what psychologists are under your insurance. I will send emails to all of them. We will get you on someone's schedule. If that's the roadblock to you getting help, is like you're just overwhelmed with this rat's nest of logistical red tape, I will cut through that tape for you. Sometimes it's way easier to cut through someone else's logistical red tape than our own. Like, it's easier to clean someone else's house because there's no emotional attachment. You're just like, boom, boom, boom. Like, it's like a logical problem to fix. So you don't have an anxiety attached to it, you know? Same with this. It's like, it's so overwhelming. Who could I get to watch my kid? I'll watch your kid. I can watch him 3 hours a week. Maybe in those 3 hours, you go get your driver's license renewed so you can get a car, blah, blah, blah. Figure out what they need. Figure out what these roadblocks are. And maybe if your friend won't tell you, figure it out on your own. Like, I know Sarah would leave that guy if she had a way to get to work in the morning, you know, but he drives her. So he's like controlling all of that. Like, okay, how can we do this? Can I find a carpool in her area for her? Can I put something on Facebook asking if anybody is going in that direction? What can you do? What can you do? Ooh, this one's good. Counteract the entrapping effects of acts of love. Abusers often act highly romantic and loving when it seems like a useful tactic to keep someone in line, right? We talked about this with Kylie and Travis. Not that Travis is abusive. I don't think for a second he's faithful. I mean, he seems at best like a simpleton. I don't know. He seems unbearable to be in a house with. I would not want to be in an elevator with that man for 20 seconds trying to make conversation, let alone share a life with him. But I said in the video, beware of over-the-top gestures. You know, look at Kim and Kanye. He would do these insane, elaborate, over-the-top presents. The hologram of her dead dad, Kenny G and 10,000 Roses. What Kim wanted, and she said that at the end of their marriage, she's like, I just want the little things. I don't want the Kenny G and the holograms. I want a partner who is there, who is stable, who is thoughtful, who is listening to me. It's the little shit. I want someone down to earth. And therefore, you can see why she was so enthralled with Pete Davidson, who was like, Mr. Down to Earth. Hey, I brought home a bunch of scratchers and some red vines. Right? Very down to earth. So beware of these big gestures, especially someone who's a victim of coercive control. They're always going to point to that. But look, he bought me all my ski equipment this year and the lift tickets and blah, 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 blah. He's not, how can you say he's mean to me? Look what he does to me. He re-wallpapered my whole bedroom and he bought me this and blah, blah, blah. Right? So what you want to do is acknowledge that. Be like, yeah, it seems like your relationship is really good at times. At times. Encourage the person to keep track of the days the relationship seems great, okay, or terrible. You know, like maybe keeping a journal if they can do that without this lunatic writing it down. And then you can say things like, you know, it seems like when things are good, they're really good, but when they're bad, they're really scary and really bad. Like, how often do you think one occurs over the other? Is it like 10% amazing? Is it 70% amazing? And like, here's another thing to add. What do you think this will look like in 10 years? Like if it keeps trending in this direction, what do you think it'll look like in 1 year or 6 months or something like after the holidays, after your birthday? Like, do you think overall you guys are trending in a direction where you feel like happy and free and supported and safe and loving? See, I'm already saying too much. I'm saying too much. It's hard. I know for me, I have to disconnect from these situations. I do. It is such an instantaneous slippery slope to codependency and just grabbing someone and why won't you listen to me? I want to make you understand that I can't even try it. And I have been called a bad friend and an abandoning friend. And you know what? I will defend myself. Say, I did have to abandon you because I cannot fucking watch this anymore. I can't do it. You know what a loyal friend I am, as evidenced by the fact you're mad that I've been disloyal. You expected better from me. Well, I wanted to give you better. You made that impossible. I don't want to blame victims, but I also don't want to completely strip someone of their personal agency because that's what the abuser's trying to do. I believe in saying to someone, you're making choices here. You're making a choice. You're casting a vote for or against your personal autonomy, your goals, your future, your health, your sexual authority. Every day, every decision, you're with this guy. You have a part in this too. And I can't combat his behavior and also your behavior and be your friend. Like, I can't do it. Why would I? Because I love you? I know that. I'm trying to demonstrate that. It's just, I know where I'm at now in my life. I don't have the bandwidth to deal with situations like this. And if that makes me a bad friend, then I'm a bad friend. Okay. I've been called worse. I've been called a pedophile, for God's sakes. Like, oh, I can hear bad friend. And it hurts me and I don't want to be thought of that way. But like, I can't be a good friend to someone who isn't even a good friend to themselves. You know? If she's not going to put her happiness first, why on earth do I have to? That's not my job. My job is to make me happy. My job is to save me. And if, unfortunately, if it's me or you, it's going to be me. I don't know what to tell you. And that's how it should come down in every relationship. Whether we're talking family, coworkers, best friends, if it's you versus me, it's me. I'm sorry. Because I've lived too many years where it was the opposite. My needs took a back burner. I was becoming codependent and insane and corroded and blah, 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 to build somebody else up, to tolerate someone else, to not rock the boat. And apply this to any dynamic you want. Work, best friends, date, anything. We've all been there. You know you have. And it's awful. So last but not least, counteract physical violence. First, the doctor says, get a gun. No, fine. She doesn't say that. I do. Bad guys have guns. Why can't good guys? In coercive control relationships, typically the most Most of the violence is mild but frequent: slapping, pushing, grabbing, shaking, rougher than desired sex. The victim is unlikely to report these acts to police. If your friend describes threatening or violent incidents, empathize. Say, "That sounds terrifying," or "That sounds so painful." Remind the victim that there's no acceptable reason to frighten or hit another person, no matter what they said or did. Ask about signs of lethality, such as using or threatening to use a weapon, jealousy or control, sexual assault, strangulation, not in the fun, sexy way. Finally, discuss safety planning. Do not insist on discussing the physical violence if your friend doesn't want to discuss it with you. Focus on your connection and ways to counteract isolation. Remember that you are not a trauma counselor. You're not. Do what you can, as much as you can, but protect yourself first and foremost. Because ironically, when I was very codependent with friends and they were in bad relationships, I was trying to save them. Guess who found herself in a bad relationship? I was so very ironically, very susceptible to fuckboys. Part of the time, it's because I wanted an escape. So I was susceptible to like alcoholics, fun Bobby, right? Somebody who was just gonna like be just this like candy for me to think about. How does that help me? It doesn't. So I hope this was helpful. I want to know your thoughts on Candace Owens' thoughts. Don't forget to shop Happy Hippo. It's a Shallagator brand, organic, fragrance-free, plastic-free, non-toxic, vegan. I mean, isn't it gross to be animal products and toothpaste? Blech. Now there's not. So go ahead and sign up for these subscription boxes. They make a fantastic, adorable gift. You're doing something good for the earth, so many great things for your body, and giving someone the gift of a beautiful smile, beautiful lips, lovely, delicious lotion, and helping out a Shallagator in the process. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Tell me more of your Meghan and Harry topics. And we'll keep it rolling. See you soon.